Well, hello, and thank you for joining us for this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. My name is Ian Cantle, and I'm joined by Ken and Paul, and together we are your marketing guides. So today we're talking about client retention, how to keep your competitors' grubby little paws off your best customers. In this episode, we're diving into the world of client retention, and we'll discuss how small businesses can keep their best customers from falling into the hands of their competitors. And our marketing guides will share what client retention really is, common mistakes small businesses make in relation to it, key factors that strengthen customer loyalty, and client retention strategies, tips, and more. That's a lot to pack into an episode, but I think we can do it. So let's strap up and dive into this vital topic. Ken, first question's for you.
All right.
Why is client retention important to small businesses? And maybe you can even define it a little bit as well.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious what it is. It's hanging on to a customer or client or patient for a long duration, ideally.
Mhm.
Um, where I'm going to get started by talking about the marketing hourglass first, because we all know the know, like, and trust. The try and the buy are pretty obvious to folks as well. The repeat and refer, are also important. And I think we're talking today about, when you flip the hourglass over from the buy to the repeat and refer is really what we're looking at today. And the buying experience doesn't stop when somebody pays the invoice. The onboarding process is critical, and that sets the tone for the relationship that you're going to have with your client. But that's not enough. You need to keep paying attention to them, and I think it's easy for a lot of small businesses, especially as you're growing and scaling and adding more customers, patients, or clients, that it's easy, to lose track of, paying attention to those great customers who signed up with you already. So why is it important? It's super important because it's hard to be on a sustained growth path if you're always losing customers. Even if you're bringing in more customers than you're losing a lot of ground. It's like, think of it like the hill or the mountain is just eroding out from underneath you. So you need a good client base to build a sustainable business. The ideally you get your clients to become champions and advocates for you. So they're gonna come back and they're gonna buy again when they have the need. You might need to remind them. A lot of small businesses are really bad at reminding their current and existing clients. First of all, what all do they do? What are all of the problems that they solve? And sometimes just asking somebody to make another purchase will result in them making another purchase. So you just got to get into that rhythm and routine, relying on customer feedback so that you're always improving and optimizing your business and your delivery. And ultimately, if you're solving the problem for them, that can be enough, but that's kind of risky because all it takes is somebody to come along and say, "Hey, yeah, I see that this is going on, but did you know that there's this too?" And now they start to have some doubt and they're like, "Well, why didn't my current solution provider of whatever type tell me about this?" And so you just let somebody weasel their way into the door and get their grubby little hands on your clients. So you don't want to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, I loved your analogy of the erosion. One of my favorite word pictures is the leaky bucket syndrome, right?
Oh
Where
yeah.
if your goal is to fill up the bucket and you're constantly throwing new clients in the top of the bucket from your funnel, but you've got a lot of attrition, right? You're playing a silly game. You need to focus on retention just as much as you do on acquisition.
Right. You could wind up spending all of your marketing dollars literally just treading water, hopefully treading water.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul, the next question is for you. What are some common mistakes that small businesses make when it comes to client retention?
Yeah, Ken kind of touched on this a little bit, but it's, d- neglecting your customers or taking them for granted, not communicating with them. It ignoring their feedback. If you get feedback, first of all, not asking for feedback. And we've talked about this in other podcasts about use surveys or ask your customers for feedback, because if you don't know what you're doing wrong or where you're weak or maybe not meeting customer expectations, you can't correct what you don't know is wrong. And if you don't ask it, and a competitor comes along and does a better job at that than you could probably lose that customer. But I want to step back a little bit here and say, before you can retain a client, you have to get a client. And the reason I thought about this, because I was talking to my friends the other day, they want to put a deck on their house, and they called like 6 or 7 different companies. 2 of them never even responded. One of them came out, took some measurements, and 2 weeks later, they never even got a quote back from this company. So if you have that problem in the first place, you're never even going to retain a client. I don't know how those places stay in business unless they're just so busy that they don't need the work. But yeah, a lot of the client retention thing, it's just common sense. Communicate with your customers, stay top of mind, and probably talk about this a little bit later. But if you're in a type of business that doesn't have a lot of repeat business, like if you're a roofer, you have to find some way to stay top of mind, because at some point they're going to need something. And if they don't remember you, they're just going to go to Google or whatever and do a search and probably contact the first company that comes up. So, staying top of mind, communicating with your customers, getting customer feedback, all those things are important in client retention. And offering promotions and rewards, trying to get your customers to refer you is, it's that engagement with your customer base, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Yeah, a couple things that stood out when you were saying that, Paul, was one of the things that's it's one of the gold standards. There's different ways to do client surveying, but the net promoter score, right? Which essentially all your very simple type of survey, but you're asking your current existing clients, patients, customers, what's the likelihood that you'll refer us to somebody? And that's a key identifier in so many ways, because that basically tells you, are they a fan or are they not a fan, right? And then you can dig more with follow-up questions, but that's a really key one that a lot of larger businesses have grabbed onto, but a lot of small businesses would benefit from that as well.
Yeah, just asking your customers for their feedback and where they can improve, it shows that you actually do care about customer service.
Yeah. It reminded me too, just when you were talking through kind of the scenario of staying top of mind, was HVACs, right? Like you were talking about roofers, and that made me think of HVAC companies where they install your new air conditioner or furnace. You don't think about those people ever again until there's a problem, and the only way you have a connection with them is because they slap a sticker on your air conditioner or furnace, right? And so that's just a really simple but profound example of how they invested in those stickers. They put them where you're going to be looking when you have a problem. And that's the key way of getting them to call you rather than just Googling it, right? So,
or send maintenance reminders.
Yeah. There's so much more they could do. But that, to me, that's kind of like the, little simple, no, other than slapping the sticker on and having them printed before that, such an easy thing for businesses to do. And I think most home service type businesses get that now, and it's standard operating procedure, but still it's such a simple thing, but really applies to what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Ken, next question's for you. What are the key factors that drive customer loyalty?
Well, obviously, the quality of the product, service, solution that you're providing is going to be key. Hopefully, there's a really strong alignment between the problem that they wanted you to solve and what your solution is solving. Sometimes there is that mismatch, and so you can't just take it for granted just because they signed on the dotted line, gave you some money, that everything's hunky dory. So that's where you need to keep in contact with them and just make sure that everything is going well. And so that obviously has implications for customer service. um you know and to the extent that you can personalize it, I mean, I love having an onboarding series of emails for a lot of businesses, emails or texts or even direct mail as appropriate based on the nature of your customer, client, or patient, just to help them fully take advantage of the solution that you have. Because, you know, y- expectations can get really jacked up really easily and quickly. You know, I know what our solution does, and my expectation is that somebody bought it, they probably understand what it does as well. And we know that there's misalignment way too many times, because we a lot of our marketing solutions are actually pretty complex. And so sometimes getting people in tune with all of the different aspects and nuances, feature sets, capabilities, potential outcomes, it just takes education. And so I think every small business needs to be in this mode of continually educating in one way or another. Whether if you're a restaurant, one of the ways you educate is you get people coming back to your restaurant through royal rewards or loyalty programs, for example. If you're in our business, you probably should be sending out an informational newsletter to help your clients understand features of the solution that you've taken advantage, or that they've taken advantage of, or just general marketing trends that they need to be aware of, things like that. Um, but yeah, it's really, all of this stuff has to be aligned. And I think it's a dangerous thing to assume that what you sell and what somebody buys, people see that in exactly the same way. You need to work hard to try to get those in as tight of alignment as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And Paul, how can businesses identify their most valuable customers?
Well, one thing they can do, a few things they can do, is, and this goes back to what we were talking about, the type of industry, is look at their purchase history and frequency, and that's going to vary by business. Like you mentioned, an HVAC company. Well, how many times are you going to buy an air conditioner or a furnace? So, but goes back to, if you have a maintenance program and you have people that pay for that maintenance program, that's probably a more valuable customer than the ones that say, I'm not going to pay for that, I'll just deal with it when it breaks. Because some people aren't going to pay for maintenance programs. It's just the way it is. And so looking at the lifetime value of the customer, and again, that's going to be different if you have smaller ticket items than larger ticket items, like Hardy siding. That the reason you buy Hardy siding is so you never have to buy siding again. So that's not something where their lifetime value is probably going to be whatever the original purchase price is. So there's some businesses where that may not work really good, but monitoring engagement on social media and channels, and the customers that refer you, and this goes back to client retention and having some kind of referral rewards program, because if customers are going to go out of their way to refer you, that's a valuable customer, and you want to reward them in some way for that. Maybe it's just a gift card to a restaurant. It can be a lot of different things, but definitely looking at which customers are engaging on social media, which customers are referring you. which customer, if you send out surveys, which customers take the time to fill those out and answer them? Those are going to be your more valuable customers, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. When we're doing our strategy first blueprint for clients, there's, as you've said, there's multiple ways to look at who your most valuable clients are, or customers, or patients. Um, I like the ones you were talking about there at the beginning, where you basically create like a matrices and you say, okay, who is it that refers the most people, and who is it that buys the most value from us, or spends the most money. And if those two things align, those are really good identifiers of a valuable client, right? What's their lifetime value? How long have they been with us? Like sometimes even that's a great one, just to, the people that have been fans for you for a long time are often, your really powerful referral partners.
Yep.
Ken, what are some effective customer retention strategies that a small business could employ?
Strategy. One, you need to have a retention strategy before you even get a customer. And you need to understand and try to define and build a marketing system to make that all happen. You may get lucky, it may happen by chance, but I'm going to pick on Groupon. If you choose a channel like a Groupon, where it's way too many times, I'm going to say, I mean, in my experience talking with customers who've used Groupons, look, as a consumer, I love it, but as a business, it's a dangerous thing, and you need to understand this. You're attracting price shoppers. They are hopping from the next Groupon deal to the next Groupon deal to the next Groupon deal. Based on the channel that they're coming in through, you're building a culture already with that client that they're probably not going to stick around for the long term. Now, that's not to say, I mean, look, Groupon can be a great solution for a lot of businesses, but my problem with it is I don't think most people think it through. And so what you need to do is you need to design a retention and a growth path with that customer over the long haul. You need to take them from a transactional basis to a lifetime value basis. And so, if you run an offer on a Facebook ad, or like we talked about, Groupon or Yelp or Google or whatever it is, you need to already be thinking, okay, if I'm going to do $29 teeth whitening, when I don't know if that's a good idea, a good price point or not, Ian, you can talk to that. But if I'm going to do something heavily discounted just to try to get somebody in the door, to experience my business, I better have a retention strategy already defined, or I'm going to be losing money on that. And so you want to have a kick-ass client or patient welcome package. You want to have a path to get them booked for their next appointment, like the next checkup they have coming. You want to move that ball down the field, so to speak. Most small businesses honestly suck at doing this. They don't think about it. They're so desperate to try to get a new customer that they're not planning for retention and growth with that customer. And so I guess that's my biggest takeaway. You can do a lot of cool things. You can have customer only private events, or offers or discounts. You can provide them with unique content if that kind of fits, the bucket of what you're delivering. So for example, a company like us, maybe if a client's been a client of ours for over a year, maybe we give them access to private educational material or classes to where maybe they can go build their own videos using Canva, or some simple thing like that we just design and create, that, that's, hey, thank you so much for being a customer. Here's a little bonus thing. Hopefully you guys can take this and run with it and do it, do some stuff yourself to supplement what we're doing. Yeah. And it's all just about delivery and staying in contact with your customer We talked about this, I think, last week in the What's Bugging Us series about, email marketing and text marketing. Most small businesses, they make a decision to not do those things because they've gotten pissed off that they've gotten an email from somebody that they didn't want to get in the past. That's not how you run your business. You need to run your business to do everything you can to stay top of mind and to continue. I think the best way is to continue to try and educate your customer. An educated customer is the best customer you can have. And the more you can educate them and the more they understand your solution, the value it provides, keep them out of that transactional mode. I'm buying something and I'm writing a check for this amount, and that's all this relationship means to me. You're going to have a hard time retaining clients.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the key things I pulled out from what you said, Ken, too, was customer experience, right? Like if you imagine putting yourself in the experience of the customer, and if you're able to observe how customers are experiencing your service delivery, all, the quality of service, all of that kind of stuff. And if you put yourself in their shoes and you think about, what kind of experience are they experiencing when they purchase from us, I think even that simple exercise will help you even just fill in a few gaps and build out, even if it's a strategy on a napkin, right? Just, hey, let's at least do this for our clients,
Right.
so that we improve their experience. You've probably had this experience too, where everything looks really super polished on the front end, and then you hire a business and like the initial form you have to fill in is a disaster, and you're like, it's broken, things aren't working properly, and you're like, this is horrible. Like I thought I was getting, I was going to say a Cadillac. I'm not sure if that's still the epitome of, a Ferrari, and now I'm getting, something lower. I won't name any brands. So
yeah. Well, I did. So send your hate mail to the leader of this
to Ken. Paul, how can businesses use data specifically to improve their customer retention?
Yeah, it kind of ties in with the last question you asked me, is that,
that's by design, Paul.
Well, I figured it was. Because when you talk about tracking purchase patterns and frequency, well, you're using data. You may not think of it in that way, but you're using data, because what is it? If you know their purchase frequency and their purchase behavior, that's data. You're using data right there. Looking at their preference, if you have different product lines and one product line, and we talked about this, it was a while back, but if you have one product line that's doing better than others, maybe you should, put your money into that from an advertising standpoint, because if you have 7 different products and you really want to focus on 1 or 2 products, but that's not what customers are buying from you, then maybe you shouldn't be spending a lot of money on that. But identifying what we call gaps in the customer journey, if people get to a certain point, and this goes back to how long of a sales cycle you have, but if people get to a certain point in the purchase process or the customer journey and then they drop off, then you need to find out why. What's going on there? Is something happening that you're making things difficult for them? Like, I'm sure we've all been to websites where it's like they must have put a lot of effort into making this purchase process as difficult as they can, and I'm going to go somewhere else. It happens. It happens a lot, more than you think it should. And if you're not retaining customers, you need to find out why. And one thing I'll say on this is, this day, this is not 1923, it's 2023. And I don't see how businesses can function effectively without a CRM. And it shocks me how many businesses, and it's usually smaller businesses, that don't have a CRM, don't use it, don't think they need it. And you're just missing out, especially if your competitors are doing these things. Ken talked about people not using email because somebody sent an email and pissed them off. And this is less about customer retention, but we see this with Yelp. People don't want to advertise on Yelp because in the past Yelp did something that irritated them. But the thing, if your competitors are using Yelp effectively and you're not, you're just handing them business. So that's less about customer retention, but goes back to, you have to get a customer before you can retain a customer. So I think those are some things to think about as far as using data for customer retention.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought into the discussion CRM systems, Paul, because one of the things I do see is that a lot of sometimes it's industry specific, where the CRM systems are absolute garbage, right?
They integrate with nothing, and that's usually by design, and that's self-serving for the vendor provider, not for the business using that system.
That's right. Yeah. I was recently walking somebody through the CRM system that we install for our clients, and you guys do as well. I know we use the same base platform, right, for our CRM system. And one of the things that I think they were blown away by was the ability to, and some of the better CRM systems have this, but not a lot of the, especially not the industry specific ones. They're very bad at the marketing side. But
Absolutely.
what I was going to say was, like, once you've set up your CRM properly and your website properly and some of your other platforms and profiles and that kind of stuff, like, it gives you such insight into what your customers or even prospects are doing once they're in your system, as far as like, what pages do they look at on our website, what downloads have they done, and all of this can be captured in your CRM system to give you intelligence in order to help you in the sale. But equally, if you have somebody who's dedicated to retention or account management or something like that within your business, or patient retention or something like that, they should be looking at your profiles of your customers, clients, patients, and seeing what they're doing recently, because sometimes that can be a big identifier of, are there gaps? Are they looking for new services that perhaps we need to talk to them about? And I think, whether this is data driven or whether this is more kind of a soft approach where you're doing follow-up conversations, but you as a business, I think this is really critical. You need to set up kind of a red flag system. Like, here's 3 red flags that when I hear or see a client or customer or patient doing this, I know that we're in danger of losing these people, right? And so that you never want to get to those red flags, right? And of course, you can create more of a work back of, orange flags and that kind of stuff before that. But I would say get some red flags up so that you and your team are deeply aware of, if somebody says this identifies them as not being very satisfied, and we need to fix that immediately. Yeah. And something else you guys said early on was taking customers for granted. And I can't believe how many people have lost the skill of saying thank you. Like, thank you for your business. Thank you for continuing to allow us to serve you. Thank you for coming back, right? Like, it's such a simple thing, but we as people, because everything is relationship based essentially, unless we're talking pure e-commerce transactions. Everything else is relationship based to some level, and you have to say thank you. Like, if you and your team are not trained to say thank you to people, I think you're going to create some dissatisfaction right off the bat.
If someone has to be taught to say thank you at that point in their life, that's a problem.
Perhaps that's a hiring question.
But something you said, and it's a really good point about the CRM. And I said that a lot of small businesses aren't using CRMs, and maybe that's on us a little bit. And you mentioned this or alluded to it, that they don't realize what a CRM can do for them. How a few simple automations can free up their office staff from doing these redundant, tedious tasks. automated review requests, missed call text backs, just little things like that we call them low hanging fruit that can really help a small business. And I think a lot of small businesses don't realize what a good CRM can really do for them.
Well, I think a lot of them get sold a bill of goods. They have a here and now real problem that's just crystal clear to them, and that is that they need to improve their operational functions. They need to have project plans. They need to have the ability to capture patient records or whatever, and so they buy a solution to solve that problem. And those vendors make it sound like they are the end all be all. And most of the time, those are closed systems that don't interface with anything else because they want to keep you captive and hostage. And they're not marketing CRMs. And so I think it's really important for people to realize you might need to have an operational system, and you probably still need to have a marketing system, and they should be able to talk back and forth. Ideally, otherwise you're going to be missing out on opportunities. You're not going to be able to trace the retention information that we're talking about here. Just be aware, folks. I mean, it's so frustrating because we talk to a bunch of people and they're like, "Oh, well, I already have a CRM," and it's like, you really don't.
Mm-hmm.
You have an operational system to help you complete projects, basically.
Yeah.
Whether your project is a person because they're seeking particular type of healthcare, or building a deck on the back of a house, they're basically glorified project management tools.
Yeah. Yeah. I see this all the time.
Yeah.
I see this all the time in the medical field, dental field, right? With practice management software, is most of them are closed systems. They don't want to talk to anything else by design. And they, in their sales materials, because I'll look at them, right? A client will come to me and they'll say, "Hey, we've got this practice management software. We want you to do this for us as far as client retention or client acquisition or relationship building." And it's a bullet point or 5 bullet points in their entire website that says, marketing, patient marketing, right? And then you dig into the software and you're like, this is junk. This is not, it doesn't give you the tools you need to do what that simple little list of bullet points suggested you were going to be able to do with this tool. And that, to me, I think is, I wrote a blog post about the practice management software lie, I think I called it, or something like that, because I was so frustrated with the number of times this comes up. And I just feel, man, what a disservice to professionals that are just trying to do the right thing. Right. And, but I think that's true in a lot of industries.
Absolutely.
So.
Home service is big time.
They didn't lie. They implied, and it's not their fault that you took the wrong thing away from that.
I think I might have called it a myth. I don't know if I went as far as to call it a lie.
Exaggerate, maybe.
Yeah.
I didn't lie. I exaggerated.
Yeah.
Different.
You read into what I was saying.
That's
no,
right.
no. You extrapolated.
Well, hey, Ken, the next question's for you. I don't know if this is too overlapping with the last one I asked you about, but let's pursue it and see what you have. What role do customer rewards and loyalty programs play in client retention? Because you touched on this a little bit before.
Yeah. So I mean, some industries it's absolutely critical. One of my favorite things to do is to deliver text message marketing systems to clients, or email marketing systems to clients, because those are some of the best ways to deliver, a really effective reward and loyalty program. What's great about it is when you think about the cost of acquiring a new customer, which could be running, a 30% off or a 50% off offer. If you're using a service like Groupon, you're giving up another 25% to that vendor. If you're selling your food through an online menu solution that also delivers for you, you're giving up 30%. You've got wiggle room, right? If you can figure out a better way to do it, and the best way to do it is to go back to your past customers, cut out the middleman so that you've got 30% profit that you could, if you wanted to, or 30% cost, I guess I should say, that if you wanted to, you could use that to create an enticing offer to come in and buy somebody directly from you without having to go through a third-party solution where you're coughing up a very large chunk of your profitability, maybe the majority of your profitability. So, text message marketing systems are fantastic for that. You can keep track of who redeemed an offer, what their total, redemption has been through the offer program. You can, set them up to be superstars. You can give them rewards as they achieve certain levels. You can also do this through referral programs, where if they refer you through, X number of people through various channels, could be social, could be text, could be email, a lot of different ways. A good, reward and loyalty system is going to allow you to track who your superstars are. And that's where you want to make your investment. You want to invest in the superstars. You want to get them to keep coming back because especially if they're championing you, if they're writing reviews, if they're referring you, if you create an offer and they share that offer to 10 friends, and then those 10 friends come in, or even 5 of those friends come in and redeem that offer, you need to attribute value back to the person who did the referral to at least, some extent, so that you can say, yeah, this is a superstar. And so, you want to do that. Obviously, the thing that makes a whole lot of sense is high volume types of businesses, restaurants, spas, hair salons, gyms, places like that. But really any business can do this and should be looking at doing it. It may, like, Paul mentioned roofers before. Well, roofers, unfortunately, in the nature of their business, you need to have a roof on maybe once every 20 years, hopefully, and that's all you need. But guess what? We live in a subscription-based economy, and you need to convert transactions to subscriptions to the extent that you can. Maybe not all transactions to subscriptions, but you need to add a subscription model to your business. It is the growth, it is the sustainability, it is the way to get people to stay long-term clients if you're delivering it. And so the HVAC world we were talking about earlier, the way they do that is a clean and check twice a year. Give people if they're a good long-time customer, give them a discount to get that clean and check, so that it's a no-brainer. It's like, oh, and now you're out there. It's basically a paid sales call for you. You may not make a whole lot of money, but guess what? If you start to see the signs that their unit is starting to, get to the point where it's stressed and may even start to fail, you now own that opportunity, and it's up to you. I mean, you may fumble it away, but you own it, and you're not at the mercy of the client waking up one morning and saying, it's freezing in here. What the hell happened? And they, and they have to go online and find the first person who's going to be able to get out there and solve that problem. You don't want that to happen. So you really want to, I think of a subscription as kind of a loyalty program. You want to get people naturally coming back. Every business needs to challenge themselves to come up with a way. If you're, we work with a lot of painters, and painters don't often want to do this, but I mean, I really think if you set up a program where, you gave people an incentive to have you come back and paint X number of rooms every year or every 2 years or something like that, I think you'd see a pretty nice expansion of your business. So you got to track it though, and you got to measure it to see how it's performing, and then you've got to you simply have to continue to go in an upward path in terms of getting those referrals and those online reviews, and because those speak volume. Those are your growth points, for And the other thing is, a lot of small businesses, I'm a little bit all over the map on this because there's a lot here, but a lot of small businesses don't want to brag about themselves. They don't want to embrace the great things that they do. And they may not even seek that attention. And there are businesses that clearly go out and that's all they want to do is they want to build up all these accolades so that they look like they're the best and most important. But you know what? There is some pride when your customer buys from you and you happen to be selected as the top provider of your niche in this location. And so the only way that you're probably going to be able to get that award is you've got really good, happy, loyal customers who are willing to go out and advocate for you on their behalf. But moving forward, it's going to give people a little bit of pride that, yeah, I made it a good decision because I selected, an award-winning solution provider.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the I actually worked in the loyalty business for several years for a large loyalty rewards program, and one of the things that we learned, and of course it's different depending on upon your rewards program, but we built rewards programs for clients as well. And one of the key things is if you're using some sort of currency, whatever it is, whether it's points. I've seen, dentists, orthodontists use point systems that you can set up for customer loyalty where, if this can even be used for kids, like, hey, if you brush your teeth every day, and if you do this, and if you come in for your regular tune-ups on your braces during the treatment time, then you get points for each of those things. And when you earn enough points, you can get an Amazon gift card or, something, right?
Right.
Something. So it's got to be it. The key term that we always used was related to redemption. Like, if people aren't redeeming, you'll lose them. They have to keep seeing the value of the currency that you're using for your rewards program. And again, differs by industry, but if you can show somebody, again, if it's points or a currency of some kind, even if it's like sending satisfied clients or long-term clients a Visa gift card or something to say thank you, if you can get them to use that card, you're creating good feelings in their heart related to you and the business, right? And that's what it's all about. And
Right.
I think also being aware that you have to personalize this to your customer base. It's got to be relevant to them, because if you're targeting CEOs and businesses, the loyalty program you create is going to be radically different than if you're a donut shop and you're trying to deliver a loyalty program there. So really make sure it's customized and personalized to who it is you're trying to reach.
And I'm a big fan of, whatever loyalty program and incentive that you put in place, it's to get them to spend more money with you.
Yeah.
Your Visa gift card example, while that may be really appealing, it's like they could be going and spending that money anywhere. And yeah, they may have some good feelings and some positive thoughts, but you're missing an opportunity. One of the best programs that I've ever seen is Roadrunner Sports. I've been a member, I can't even tell you how long, probably since 2000. It's an online, they've got some in-person stores, but it's an online, store where you can go purchase running shoes, running apparel, fitness apparel in general, stuff like that. And they have fantastic programs. They offer a VIP program. As a VIP, I immediately get 10 to 15% off whatever price they have on their store, even if it's a sales item or a discounted item. Every time I make a purchase, I earn dollars that I can redeem and apply to my next purchase. And guess what? A lot of people are like, "Oh, you're giving a lot of money away." But you know what? I buy a hell of a lot more than I normally ever would because they're giving me a lot of money to do that with. And I'm making purchases where it's like, am I buying this extra pair of, sandals, recovery sandals, because I have some extra bucks? You bet. I wouldn't buy them otherwise. So they're getting a lot more money, and I guarantee you they've got my loyalty. I mean, why am I going to go anywhere else when I've got that opportunity? So think about that. How can you build a program like that? Look at Amazon. Amazon gives you reward points that you can apply. Credit cards give you reward points. There are so many models that are out there. It doesn't mean you always have to give away stuff. You can add value on top of a purchase. Make this level purchase, and we're going to give you this above and beyond. But you got to do this, and it's got to be a well thought out program, and it has to align with your ideal customers, and it's got to align with, like you said, Ian, that redemption mentality. Because you could offer the coolest incentive in the world, but if nobody is like really thrilled to redeem it, it's not going to do you any good.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep your program simple, not just for you guys in the management of it, but man, if you have to create like a 20-point slide deck to explain why it's a value or how they redeem things or whatever, like keep it simple. Like you want to make this as greased as process as possible.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we've done with our business is if a client refers us and the client that they referred us to becomes a customer or a client, we set a tiered structure to where we'll take, as a way to say thank you, we'll take, if they come in at a $750 a month retainer or a $2,500 a month retainer, we've got levels where we'll say, well, we're going to make a one-time payment as a way to say thank you to your account. So you're going to get an account credit for that, and then that saves them money on the marketing services. But you know what? It's good for me because the cost of acquiring a customer is a hell of a lot more than that.
Yep.
I don't mind rewarding people who want to refer me, because they're probably going to refer me to people who are going to be naturally good and hopefully my ideal clients anyway, because they already understand who we work with and what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Great points. Paul, how can businesses effectively communicate with their customers to build stronger relationships? We've alluded to that a key to all of this is communication, but how can they do that? What can they do to be effective at that?
Respond. I know it sounds simple, but it goes back to, person I was talking about that was getting quotes on a deck. If it takes you 3 weeks to get back to a potential new customer, how are you going to treat? Even at that point, I wouldn't do business with them, because if that's how you treat a potential new customer, how are you going to treat existing customers? So be prompt in your communications, and personalized communication. It goes back to CRM. A CRM can help you do that easily. When you send out an email or respond to a customer, personalize that with their first name. Provide update. If you have some kind of special offer or a sale, goes back to email marketing that Ken was talking about. Let them know that they have this. If they contact you with an issue or a concern, don't take 2 weeks to get back to them. Get back to them right away. If social media is a big part of your business, we talked about this before. Some industries, social media just not is not a big part of their business just because of the nature of their industry. But if you're a lifestyle type business, then engage with them on social media. Respond to reviews. If a customer takes the time to leave a review, respond to it. Thank them for it. Well, if it's a positive review, thanks for giving me a bad review. But it just, like you said, Ian, say thank you. Just simple things like that. Be a real person. Your customers are real people. Treat them that way.
Treat them like your beloved grandmother.
There you go.
One of the ideas that I wanted to share, and I didn't know where to share it, but it's both a strategy, it's both a type of communication and data gathering, but it's also a form of rewards for clients. Is actually, especially in industries where their profession, their association actually says they cannot accept gifts from vendors, suppliers, contractors, customers, whatever, right? Because there are industries like that and
Sure.
associations that are very stringent. And asking somebody, if you're in that situation, what charities do you care most about, and doing a donation on their behalf. That if they are deeply passionate about the charities that they support, that can sometimes be just as influential and loyalty building, and relationship building as giving money to somebody else, right? It can be really, really valuable. And man, you learn a lot about a person by where they put their hard-earned money. So I think that can be a really valuable piece as well.
Yeah.
Well, I was joking around about the bad review, but if you do get a bad review, that's an opportunity. First, don't ignore it or get mad about it. Just it's an opportunity to find out what happened and respond to that review. Reach out to that person and say, "Hey, where do we screw up? What do we do? How can we improve?" And a lot of times, just doing that, they will go back and add or change their review, or they'll say, "Hey, they responded, they fixed the problem." And when people see that, that's helps build trust that even if something does go wrong, you're going to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. How can a business measure the success of their customer retention strategies?
Well, again, I think it starts with a CRM.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm constantly amazed when I talk to businesses that they don't easily have a way to go look and see who their customers are, how to get back in contact with them. All they know is I mail them an invoice once a month, or every time I do a project for them, I send them an invoice. But I don't think I have an email address for them. All of this stuff. So first of all, you got to build a list. You got to organize the list, and you've got to use the list for marketing purposes. And the best way to do that is with a CRM. Now you can measure, clickable links. We use a text marketing system that generates unique offer codes for every person on a list, so that you can actually log that. Now it takes time because you have to record the information, but you can actually log the redemption into your system, and it'll add it up over time to say this customer has redeemed 10 offers, equating to X amount of overall revenue over the last 6 months. That's an important metric for you. And so you certainly want to be able to do that. You want to see, who your, you want to look at lifetime value as well. A lot of businesses, I think they struggle thinking about lifetime value. In the roofing world, again, you're going to be thinking about it's this one big large transaction. I know my average transaction is this, and then I probably won't get another piece of business from that customer, maybe for 8 to 10, 20 years if I'm lucky. Um, don't let it be like that. Again, put a subscription model in place so that that $8,000 customer or that $20,000 customer, however much it was for the roof replacement, turns into a $30,000 customer over a period of time. And they may need you to come back out and take some proactive measures because they've got raccoons that are doing shit on their roofs, eating shingles or whatever. I mean, they're just crazy. Um, it could be just because a couple of shingles came off in the latest storm, but it's not really big enough to file an insurance claim. But if you're not walking around on somebody's roof a couple of times a year, you may never know that happens, and that can create some vulnerabilities. There's just so many opportunities. Your job is to get back in front of your customer as much as you can, and you want to track the value of that. Obviously, we've talked in the past too about HVAC contractors don't really make any money when they go out on a service call just to handle a programmable thermostat. but between the drive time that was lost and the amount that they can charge for that type of a service call, and when you weigh that against what they could have been doing and making on other more lucrative jobs, it's not a very big value add. So if you're seeing that those types of things are sucking money out of your business, then create, like we talked about, a series of how-to videos or resources that you can share with your client, maybe, so that they could do it themselves. They save money, but they have great goodwill built up with your business because you solved their problem and they didn't have to write a check. You want to keep track of all of this stuff. Data allows you to make your business better. And, one of the things that I think every business needs to do as well is that I don't know that this is exactly in alignment with the topic, but, if you offer 10 or 20 different products or solutions, are they all equally profitable? Should you continue to invest in that? Are some of them better to just you do them, but you only do them as add-ons, to other things that you're doing, but you don't really sell that as a standalone kind of a solution? You need to measure and track all of that, and it ultimately comes down to data and decisions, and paying attention to the parts of your business that drive it economically, and that's marketing, it's sales, all of the metrics that are associated with that, the profitability of each and every product, service, or solution that you're offering, how long you redeem or you retain a customer, how much money are they giving you over time. All of those things you need to be tracking.
Yeah, and I think it was Peter Drucker whose quote we often say that you can't improve what you don't measure, right? So you absolutely have to measure things in order to be able to, move the lines down the football field a little bit. But
Right.
without those lines on the football field, it's a lot harder. If it was just a wide open field
Right.
with no posts, makes it
Well,
hard.
and if you're not measuring, you're going to see a lot of stuff creeping in and eroding profitability and retention if you're not measuring it and paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Especially now, we're in an economy right now where there's a lot of, there's inflation that's hitting a lot of businesses, some businesses a lot harder than others. That's eroding, profitability. And so they need to challenge themselves. Do they need to change the way they're doing business? One, because maybe the world has changed and they need to look at, let me give you an example. I mean, this is related to healthcare. Sometimes getting access to healthcare is a royal pain in the butt. And especially timely. And now there's a model of a concierge solution that's out there. And that concierge solution is kind of that blue ocean strategy. It's like, you know what? People don't want to have to make a bunch of different phone calls. They don't want to try to track down, a healthcare provider and only to be told, oh, you need to go talk to this person. Oh, you need to be talking to this person. Oh, you need to be talking to this person. The concierge kind of a solution flips the model on its head and says, no, we're going to make it simple. You come here, we'll take care of that for you. See if you can do that in your business, because I guarantee you're going to retain clients. And, bad experiences cost you clients, patients, and customers.
Yep. Paul, what are some long-term benefits of strong client retention?
Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit. Increased lifetime value, more money. They're gonna, if you're their go-to person for whatever it is, they're gonna keep coming back to you. And if you have customers that refer you and your competitors don't, that's going to give you a competitive advantage right there. And if you have good relationships with your customers, they're going to probably be more comfortable giving you feedback and positive feedback, and goes back to negative feedback can be a good thing because it helps you fix problems that you may not realize you have somewhere in your sales process or your customer relationship. So it's just all around. It's basically, at the bottom line, it comes down to to increased revenue. And if you, like I said, if you have people referring you, that's free marketing when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey guys, I think we're nearing the end of this topic, but any last parting thoughts that you wanted to share with our listeners?
Get a good CRM and use it.
And design your retention program before you even get customers.
Yeah.
You've got to have that. Again, you want to visualize the path. Look, the reality of the world that we live in digital marketing being the predominant, if not the dominant, way that people are finding businesses to do business with, your customers have control, more control than they've ever had. But you can still influence the journey a lot. But in order to do that, you have to think about it. You have to put time and effort, and you have to put strategies. You have to train your team so that everybody is all operating, from a single point of view, with a goal in mind. To take somebody from here and get them over to here. Marketing is about transformation. That transformation is only going to happen and be sustainable and healthy for your business if you do this by design and not leave it up to chance.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can't remember the name of that stuff that infomercial has, but slap some of that sticky tape on the outside of your bucket so that you increase your client retention. This is a great place to wrap up. Thank you, Ken and Paul, for sharing your thoughts on this topic that I think is really valuable to small business owners. And thank you to our audience for joining us today. I hope you found this topic valuable. And if you do, please share the link with others. Please spread the love. And until next week, keep calm and market on, folks.